Hi, and thank you for joining me today. This is Meg at Chasing Retro, and today I thought we would talk about a couple of things that are near and dear to my heart from my own childhood and how they sort of incorporate in junk journaling, which is my new hobby and pastime. So I grew up in the 80s, and so I had a lot of toys and books and things like that from the late 70s all through the 80s. And I was, like I am now, I was a bibliophile. I loved books. I could not get my hands on enough books. My parents took me to the library a lot, and our library actually had a lot of record albums or LPs as well. So those quickly became favorites to check out and bring home and put on my little Fisher-Price record player. And then, of course, at birthdays and Christmases, I received records as gifts. And I remember going to the mall and going to record stores and buying the little record with the book or the cassette tape with the book as, you know, my take-home gift for the day after a day of shopping. So I pulled out a lot of my records. We have records out all the time because my husband and I love listening to them. But the ones from my childhood are normally kept in the back of the closet in our room because obviously I don't listen to those on a weekly basis. But I pulled them out this week because I wanted to get some Disney ones out to listen to while I create the Disney journals that I'm starting on. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I always have to have music playing, and when I'm working on a journal with a theme, I usually try to listen to music that fits that theme. So if I'm working on a 60s journal, I'll listen to only music from that decade. And so for Disney, obviously, I had to pull out my Disney LPs. And so I pulled all of that out today. I also like to watch Disney movies while I work, just because, you know, it's something you can have on in the background, and I know so many of them by heart because I watched them over and over and over with either myself or with my kids as they were growing up with the ones made in their lifetime. So I thought this would make a fun little video for anyone who is my age, around my age, or maybe had kids that grew up during the same era that I did. You might recognize a few of these covers of records. So I thought maybe just turn the camera on as I go through these and sort and figure out which ones to hold out to listen to. I'm going to start with 3 of those little book and record, you know, the little 33 and a half records. This one is one of the first ones I remember listening to. I was probably 3 when I got this one, and I love this one so much. It's probably my favorite version of this story, and I didn't fully put together that it was a Walt Disney production, but yes, this was one of my all-time favorites. The back of these books is just amazing. This little image has been on here for decades. And so this one, this is not my original one. I actually ordered this one on eBay to bring back a good memory that I had from preschool. My preschool teachers read us this story, and then we went outside afterward, and someone had taped lollipops all over the magnolia tree outside of our church preschool. And so in my mind, you know, it was a magic tree after that. So I was able to find this story a few years ago and listen to it again. And then, of course, I feel like all of us who grew up in the 70s and 80s had Charlie Brown books and records and tapes. So this is one of, I think I had 5 or 6, but this is one of mine, and one of my favorites. I will never be able to cut into these, by the way, for junk journals. These are considered prized treasures, and they are to remain intact. This one right here is probably older than the 80s. I'm guessing 70s. But some of the records that I had were given to us by a family friend who had a daughter a little older than me. So this might be one of hers. But these These large ones with the stories built in are just epic. I mean, it's got the entire story. You could read along, but it's like a comic book. So these are always fun. The sound effects, I remember, were especially realistic. And then I was a huge Sesame Street fan. So here is the, I think it's 10th anniversary album. It's hard to believe. I think they just had their 40th, but yes, this is their little anniversary album with all of their greatest hits. And then, let's see, I think they have, this one sticks because it's foil. Oh goodness, it's been duct taped, I think. So I don't think that's gonna open anymore. But it had all the lyrics, so I remember sitting in my room and singing with all of these. And then underneath, of course, is Disney. Oops, I just made my light turn cold. Let me switch that back because I don't like the cold. There we go. This is the Mousercise record. And Mousercise used to actually be a show that came on the Disney Channel. So it was disco type aerobic music and so much fun to do. I used to have friends over and we would exercise to this record together. I had a lot of Bible songs on record, and this was one of them. This was a radio program that used to come on called the Children's Bible Hour, and I think a version of this is still, they're not on the radio anymore, I don't think, but they're still producing content on YouTube and on CD. But it was like a Bible story and then a dramatized Bible story, and then they have songs. And a lot of these songs are, you know, very vital to my childhood. I learned them early on. The ones that I didn't learn at church, I learned from these records. I was also a big Care Bear fan. So this is probably my favorite Care Bear record, The Adventures in Care-a-Lot. And had this one on repeat as well. These have been very well loved, as you can see. And I didn't pick all of them to show you because some of them I just wrote all over or colored all over. So I left those in the box. This is another Sesame Street one, The Count Counts. Scooby-Doo. I think, again, this might have been one that a family friend gave me, but I did start watching Scooby-Doo once I was a little older. I watched it every day after school. At Home with Ernie and Bert. This one is laugh out loud funny. And it's just interactions between he and Bert. Some of them were on the show, but some of them I think were written just for this record. The Muppet Movie soundtrack. I see a little, oh, it's like a serendipity sticker on here. So the Muppet Movie and all of the Muppet movies were top notch for me. And then once they started showing them at the free summer movies, of course, I watched them all again every summer. I think my favorite was The Great Muppet Caper, which is not a popular favorite, but I don't know why. I just loved it. I think I like the setting. Did you have a favorite Muppet movie? Let me know, please. I would love to hear. Okay, so our library occasionally would have a library discarded book sale, and they would also have records. And I don't know if you guys remember seeing these. They all had the same cover, and these are probably from the 50s or 60s, but they would have read aloud Newbery Award records, and very well done. And so whenever these went on sale, obviously, as a young child, I would not gravitate toward them, but my mom always got them for us to listen to at home. And then I have Disney Children's Favorites, which is just, this will definitely be one that I listen to while I work. This is probably early 80s, if I'm guessing. It's a little bit later. And a lot of these are just traditional American tunes like Oh Susanna and The Green Grass Grew All Around, just sung by Disney characters. Here's Strawberry Shortcake. I can't remember, have I shown you one of these yet? I've got several Strawberry Shortcake. I don't think I pulled them all out, but yes, she was one of my favorite. And there's little custard And she always had such peril in her stories because of her little interactions with the pie man, and they were very like disturbing to me and emotional. So I didn't love these as much as some of the other ones, because when she was scared or sad, her little voice used to break my heart. But of course, I did love her, and my entire bedroom was strawberry shortcake for about 3 years. And I was her for Halloween for about 3 years. I'm going to cover up my name on this one. This is probably one of my favorite ones of all. This is a record inspired by the It's a Small World ride at Disneyland or Disney World. And it's just, I think it's a boys choir, and they just go through and sing the songs from nations all around the world. So it's beautiful. It's not really a kiddie record. I like to listen to it just now. It's beautiful. And then, if you want to see some of they've got songs from all of these countries, and they're just so fun to listen to, and they're beautiful. I think they're a cappella as well. And here's another one of those Bible records. This is just, I think there are actually stories, like moral stories on here with a moral teaching. So yeah, this is one of my favorites as well. Here's another Charlie Brown. This one also has a book inside. One of the first records I bought with my own money was this book. When my dad was in the military, we had a little, it was not on post, but we had a little discount store in the town near the post, and they just sold random things, and I loved that store. And they had records occasionally, and I grabbed this. I think I got it because Gilligan's Island theme was on it, and I loved watching Gilligan's Island. But some of the other ones on here are before my time, but they're still fun. They're very retro and disco sounding. And then here's another book record from a discarded sale. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Ella Jenkins, but she was a children's folk singer in the 60s and 70s and into the 80s. She is still alive, and she's an African-American woman. She lives in Chicago now. And a few years ago, when I was a mom blogger, I actually got a chance to interview her on the phone. She still republishes her albums with Smithsonian Folkways. And so I was asked by them if I would want to interview her and record and then publish my interview on my blog. And I was like, oh my goodness, yes. She's like a childhood legend and icon and idol for me. So I did, and it was an unforgettable experience. But this is probably her most famous album. If you search for Ella Jenkins or this album on Spotify, you'll hear it. But she was very much about getting down to the level of children and helping them enjoy music by making it fun and not pretentious. And she was very multicultural, so a lot of her songs were songs sung from traditions from different cultures around the world. And I credit her for my love of cultures today in many ways. So definitely check her out if you just want to hear her, or if you've forgotten about listening to her, or if you have kids now. They would, it's timeless. I'm sure they would love her music now as much as I did then. The next few are some that I got at yard sales as an adult, but they still fit into what I love to listen to as a kid. This is John Denver and the Muppets. It's a little holiday album, and it's interesting. I love it. I love John Denver, and I thought the album cover was fun. Can you imagine putting this together as a photograph? I bet that was a chore. And there's little Kermit sitting on his leg. And here's Strawberry Shortcake's Christmas album. My husband was on a trip and saw this one in a used record store and got this one for me. He does that a lot. He'll see something like this, and if it's a good price, he'll grab it. Same with this one. He found this one in a record store somewhere where I was not with him at the time, and it did not have the cover anymore, but it was in this plastic sleeve, but it's one of the records with the picture etched in, so it's fun. I don't even know if I've listened to this yet. I need to. And then this is just a vintage Disneyland record from 1968. And it's just got some of the ones, like Jimmy Dodd. He was one of the Mouseketeer leaders. So these are pretty old. Pretty fun though. I will be listening to this one this week, as well as this one. Is this not incredible? So, you know, these are all their own original songs, but they are in a disco format. I can't wait to hear how they do these. I don't know that I've listened to this one either. 1979. And then the last in the stack is some that I found at a yard sale when our kids were super young. I don't even know if I had a way to play records at that time because we didn't have a record player in our marriage yet, but these I could not pass them by. I think they were $1 each. And so these are the stories in full color in a book. Well, some of them are this single color, which I love that style. This one's missing pages, I think. So some of the pages were missing. Yeah, the entire middle of the story to this one is missing, which is a super big shame, unless it got tucked in here. No, but there are 2 records in here. Oh, there's Peter Pan. Okay. So I don't know where the rest of the book went, but I don't have any sentimental ties to these, and I've had them forever. My kids are done listening to them. So I thought about possibly using these images in junk journals because they're just great, and they're not what you would normally find in a Disney book. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Would it be hard for you to cut this or fold this to use in a book? And I just also love this cutout. I wish I could think of a creative way to use that too. This one's been colored on by someone. And all of these are pretty much the same. They're all this magic mirror cover, and then this one appears to have the whole story. Again, very simple, but for as big as the pages are, minus the first page, which would almost be frame-worthy, most of the pictures are small enough that you could use them in a journal very easily. And they would get view time, because right now these are just sitting in my closet. So I feel like my best use of them would be to put them in a journal. Here's Mary Poppins, and this one has the story as well. The colors in here are much more vivid. And I love the stylized artwork so much. Oh man, that's awesome. So yeah, this last page is glued, and I don't know if I'd be able to get that. I may just have to, you know, use this as the back of a journaling card if I decided to cut this up. Here's a Peter Pan. Yep, that's the one missing the record, so we found it in the other one. This is fun. I love it. Cinderella. This one appears to be missing the cover. Oh, there it is. Cover page. These were obviously watched, read and listened to a lot by whoever owned these previously. And then Pinocchio. Yeah, I love this. This is a movie that doesn't get watched much. I don't know. My kids just never liked it. I didn't hate it, but I mean, I guess it wasn't one of the ones I wanted to watch the most. The end was a little scary. I do remember being a little scared by that part, but Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you guys is another hobby that I had. I think I'd gotten interested in it when I was about 11 or 12. And it was mainly because every summer my mom would challenge us to make something or start a hobby, or just she was looking for something to keep us from telling her that we're bored all the time. And so one summer, it was actually the summer my dad was deployed away. She was probably desperate for things for us to do to keep our time busy. So she said, if I started collecting stamps, what if you did it with me? And I was like, sure. I don't even know what that is, but okay. So there was a movie that came out about stamp collecting, and it had kids in it my age about that time. And so that kind of got me interested in it. But back then, I don't think they do this anymore. The post office would sell stamp collecting books or introduction kits to stamp collecting. So we went up to the post office and my mom bought me this one, which I was interested in world cultures and, of course, costumes and fashion and stuff like that. So I bought this, and it came with stamps that you would match and stick down in this book. And that kind of opened up my world of stamp collecting. And I did it for probably 4 or 5 years. We had a hobby store in our town that sold all the things you needed, the albums, the little hinge fasteners, and the bags of assorted US and worldwide stamps. And so we just purchased, way more than we would ever use. And to this day, I am still using those stamps in my junk journals. I have hundreds. But I thought maybe I would just pull this out and show you some of the original stamps that I put in here. And like I said, I think all of these were hand-picked to go in these albums. But I'm not sure because they're covered up now. But yeah, yes, they do. They match. So, of course, this was fun, but it probably only took me an hour. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Now what? But it was enough for Mom to see that I was interested in it. Isn't it fun? And then they had this little guy. He was like their spokesperson, the U.S. postal stamp, and he was the one who tried to get kids interested in this hobby. I don't know what year this is. 84. So yeah, that was this little album. And then my grandma got into it too, and she got interested in collecting the first issue envelopes and postcards. So I have all of those as well. I pulled a few extra ones out that she collected to put in my journals, but she does have all 50 states in an album, and I will leave that intact, of course, because it reminds me of her. But she used to donate to the Red Cross and the Lung Association and all of these things. So these aren't stamps, I realize that, but she would always give these to us to stick down and play with when we were over at her house, coloring and drawing. And of course, when I started stamp collecting, she gave all these to us as well. Here's one of the albums that we bought from the USPS later. I think my mom might have bought this one. It's never been used. This is one of those rulers that helps you determine something about the stamp by how many perforated. I don't really understand all of this anymore, but I pulled this out because it's never been used, and I thought I could use these little packets or little sleeves for junk journal pages or pockets. So that was a neat find. I went shopping in my attic yesterday, if you can't tell. And then after I finished that costumes album, I must have gotten bored because I made my own postage stamp album. I used to make lots of paper books. So I've been making books for a long time, for like over 30 years. And so I would just get my favorite ones out of those big collections and paste them down. No rhyme or reason. I don't, you know what though? This might have been the one I made for my sister. She was younger than me. I might have done this for her. Very basic, not finished. And then here's just a random floating page. And then I got this one next. This was my next jump up. And this was a worldwide album. And it has, you know, I was able to fill in some of the pages. This is organized by country. I was able to fill in some of the pages with what I had. And, oh, this is funny. I don't know if any of you ever did collage. Well, obviously now with junk journals we collage, but again, this is something else I've been doing for a long time. Every summer I would collage a poster for my door or my wall of what I was interested in that year. And this is when I got interested in architecture and interior design. So it looks like I started one and never finished it. But yes, this is just a fun little flip through of hobbies that I had as a kid that seamlessly transferred to my hobby today, and I think that's really funny. I feel like everything has led me up to junk journaling, and I thought it'd just be fun. I'm sorry if this wasn't fun. If it was extremely boring, I apologize. Maybe some of you will see something that you recognized or that sparked a memory that you had from your childhood, and if so, I would love to hear about it. Just comment below and we'll chat. And thanks for joining me today, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.